our viewership lately. Like, it's not like we're filling the ranks with people.
Well, we're live now, so maybe you should shut up, Joel.
Yeah, stop hating on our viewers, man.
Stop hating on our
not-
stream, bruh.
Not cool,
Bruh.
man. Not
I
cool.
love our viewers. But I'm just saying, we've been nobody's gnawing at the bit to get in right now, so they will later.
I disagree, good sir. And with that, I'd like to welcome everyone back to Talking Nerdy to Us. I am Brian Ballard. I am joined with my friends Ben, Joel, and David, as always.
Hello.
Guys, say hello.
Hey, Ben.
Hello. I still am having computer difficulties, so I'm on my phone. Yeah.
School, like a real nerd.
Yeah, old school and an iPhone 13.
That is old school, dang.
Yeah, old school. Going retro, baby.
So, it's our first Talk Nerdy to Us of the year. I thought it's a good time to kind of look both back and forward to a bunch of different topics. Just kind of like have a good time and whatnot. The first thing I really kind of want to talk about is what we've been doing so far with our campaign. I think that there is some context that, you know,
makes sense if you were a player before.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, there are certain things like inside jokes. Everyone's got that like inside joke of like, oh, hey, Joel, guess what? You're slimed. You know, it just happens. You know, and
yeah.
And then it's not funny to anybody else.
Yeah.
But
can I give the lead up of what of the back campaign?
Oh yeah, sure. If you want.
Do you want to go into that one? For those of you that watch the stream, you have seen some introductions of some characters, and a reference to a disruption in Faerun, which is 100% the responsibility of these three jagoffs, who, on a whim and me being frustrated with the campaign, suggested we play a higher level one shot. Where this was prior
higher level evil one shot.
Yes, higher level evil one shot, and it started out just from a high point of frustration of me being irritated with performance of the players of a last campaign that I was playing, and it drove me absolutely crazy. And this is before Brian's work schedule allowed him to join us. He did join intermittently with disastrous consequences, which was. But it started out with at level 10, and the whole point was Ben played cleric of order who was disenfranchised with the church that he was in.
Dooku. I played Count Dooku.
He played 100% played Count Dooku. Who was then asked by Asmodeus, hey, you want to collect souls? I'll give you money and stuff. And he's like,
Yes.
Yes. And then, like, on demand, boom, he brings up David joins with Logie, who is an undead revenant. And they proceed to just wreck shop. And that one shot turned into what, like 7-8 months?
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah, I think we did it most of last year, I think. It took up a lot of time.
I don't know if it was 7 or 8 months, though. I mean, like, I guess technically, because we only played like once a week, so it was probably somewhere closer to like at least half a year. But I don't know if it was 7 or 8 months, though.
We were playing for a few months before you started, though.
That's true. Yeah, never mind.
Yeah, I think you joined at like what session? Somewhere between 4 and 6. I don't have the best memory for that.
Something like that.
No. He was later than that because like
even later.
Yeah. Well, this had been after you guys had already like stolen the souls of everybody in the town.
Yeah, our first.
We
town
started.
We had already got it all.
It was either like April 2021, I think.
Yeah. So long story short,
sounds right.
I didn't really know where I was going to go with it. My goal was hopefully they'd be able to like take over like the kingdom, and somehow these guys ended up going back in time and making sure all other gods but Asmodeus cease to exist.
I think you can describe how it happened. This is what happens when you let a cat be on a keyboard.
Yeah.
Don't
I'm
let
actually-
cats near time machines.
For
They'll
those
run on the keyboard.
those
Weird
of you
stuff
don't
happens.
don't know, Brian played a Dreamlands cat by the name of Mr. Whiskers.
With the special ability of becoming thought for 10 minutes, and that's it. And I gave it to him because I wasn't paying attention or thinking about who I'm giving an ability to. Like, giving an ability like that to anybody but Brian Ballard, probably a safe bet. Brian Ballard gives like crippling self-doubt. Like, I've never seen somebody do mental, like most of them people would be like, I'd get in his head and I would make him want to do this. Brian's like, I make him doubt if his parents were his actual parents. I make him think he's adopted. What? Like, what is happening?
Him have like an surprising amount of
Like-
attachment to this random priest that's talking to him.
Yeah, like, wasn't that, you did that with one of them.
Yep.
And then,
At one point,
And then-
what I did was because I wanted to play something a little bit different. So Joel was all like, "Oh yeah, just make whatever. I don't care. It could be third party. It could be whatever." And I'm like,
Well,
"Okay, well,
just case in point, like, Brian gets a carte blanche. Like, in any game I play, Brian can make up whatever. He taught me how to play the games. So, like, I have complete faith in his ability. So, I regret that statement every game I play with Brian.
and yet he
but-
keeps giving it to me."
But it's so exciting. Like, it's always so fun because, I mean, like, you have no idea what's going on. Sorry to cut you off, but, like, you need to know that, like, you aren't drawing from anything normal. You're like, what's this? This is a drawing I made when I was 11. It's now a character. Fuck
Well,
you.
I mean, when you say that, you just allow me whatever third-party material, and I have like all these books and stuff behind me. It's like, what am I not going to use these?
So bad.
So I looked at my because if you guys don't know, there is a third-party material by the people who made basically Call of Cthulhu, not Chaosium, the studio that produces Call of Cthulhu, but Sandy Peterson, who wrote for Call of Cthulhu. He's like one of the big head honchos of it and everything else. He also did a bunch of third-party material for Pathfinder as well as D&D 5th edition, where you can bring the Cthulhu mythos into your games and whatnot. And so the core rulebook for the 5th edition stuff had the Dreamlands cat, which is essentially it's just a cat. It's like not necessarily like any different or special, but like through means you like have access to the, like you can be like an otherworldly cat, like you can be like a cat from Uranus or whatnot. But like there's also like the Terran cat.
Idiot.
It's just an earthly cat. So I got a huge like fucking like D&D boner when Joel was all like, yeah, you can do whatever. So I'm like, oh god, I'm going to play a motherfucking like regular ass cat, but I'm gonna make him one of the aberrant mind sorcerers. So like I'm just gonna be like a motherfucking psychic spell slinging cat. And
Is that what you were?
Yeah, we were fine. It's cool.
Interdimensional space.
Yeah.
I thought the entire time that you were a rogue.
Oh,
What? No, he was not a rogue.
no.
He was multi-class.
Did I multi-class?
You
with that? No,
multi-classed because you would backstab things with your claws, wouldn't you? Or you would
Oh,
sneak a
wait a
lot. You were
Sneak
sneaking
attack.
it all the
Yeah, he was
time.
sneak attack.
Yeah,
Wait a
sneak
second.
attacks and hiding.
I was
Little
wrong
piece-
about that. I was an arcane trickster rogue for that cat. I remember now. Because,
As a dream
like,
cat.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things about like the Dreamlands cat is that when you cast spells, essentially you don't actually have to cast like because you don't have to do the verbal. You're a cat. You don't speak anything but cat. So whenever like a spell has like a certain component, like if it's a sophomoric component, instead of like waving your hands because you don't have hands, you just have paws. You can just like fiddle with your like whiskers. You know what I'm saying? Like your whiskers will twitch or whatnot, or your ear will kind of like stick out a certain way.
You
or
lick your balls to cast magic missile.
something. I mean, so he was.
I feel like if that was your component, if that was your like somatic casting point, like that, you would have just made that horribly uncomfortable for everybody. But yeah,
you remember the time that I just started like cleaning? I was like,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I just started like,
Mhm.
It's like right in the middle of this serious discussion, Mr. Whiskers is just going to town on himself right there. Mhm.
One of the most critical points of this game was like, yeah, it was as Ben said earlier, it was an evil campaign with some very hard rules. Was one, nobody could know that you were evil. Like everybody had to think you were the greatest and the most noble. So you couldn't go around like evil campaigns are usually just like these murder hobo fests. So
Go
like
around going evil.
yeah, you can't kill anything. So it was high role playing. And then in comes Brian with a cat.
Oh, I mean, we could kill stuff.
No,
We just had to get
Just not
away
get
with
killed.
it.
yeah. But what does who's the first thing that gets fingered for a casual murder in town? Not the cat. So the cat is like sitting there licking its, like cleaning its junk and mind spiking people all over town because why? Because he can, and nobody's like, oh my god, that cat's killing everything. Instead, they're just like, at one point, he ended up taking over an entire like army of idiotic like were-rats, and then using them as like cannon fodder for like
I had them do
the guy
suicide
who
bombings
showed up.
around the fucking city. Yeah,
The guy who just
Mhm.
showed up in our Ebron campaign, Rumble
yeah.
Lobskin.
You had him
they
do
did-
loot raids in the Feywilds, right? Just
Yeah.
go
Oh,
find the
you
loot.
gave him
Don't
the
die.
Rebel Bobskin as cabin fodder.
Yeah,
Cannon
so if
fodder.
they died, he's like, get more. So, yeah. And actually, what's this moving on to one of my favorite and most unpredictable plot arcs. Rumple Bobskin is a archfey whose domain encompasses both the Shadowfell and the Feywild. Like right at the northern part, he guards both sides. And he is so old that he just is bored now. Like his domain pretty much runs itself. He's just looking for something to do. And in walk by accident these 3 jagoffs who just are like, "What do you want to do, Jeff?
Take
It won't be
over the
boring.
world. What
And
are we doing
so he's
today,
like, "All right."
Brain? Taking over the world. The same thing we do every night. Take over the world.
the Logie and the cat. The Logie.
Yeah. So one of the things is I took a little bit out of Norse mythology and Svartheim, the dwarves that craft the weapons of the gods. And part of their stories is their names come with whatever they create. So proper nouns are a big deal. And in walks Logie, who has the highest persuasion skill of anybody I've ever seen.
Highest deception.
Yeah,
Super deception.
Yeah, so he just walks in and they're like, I am the creator of Iron Fist, the giant slayer, blah, blah, all these names, all these things. And he's like, I am Logie. I invented proper nouns. And just this obscenely high, like 30-plus deception roll made him now the namer, which again was another thing I was not prepared to do. I'm like, because who sits there and is like, hey, you know what? I'm going to say that one character might claim to have originated some piece of grammar. Like, no, nobody thinks about
Right.
that. But I had to, then he inadvertently became the originator of their entire culture and is now considered a god in there. And so he got,
Oh, yeah.
instead of the little bit of metal that he was trying to get for this spell that Bob was trying to build, Rumple Bobskin, he got like tons, literal tons of this metal. And he's
Yeah,
like,
it was like what? Like almost a specifically modified bag of holding that was,
yeah,
I think, one of your
Only for
homebrew
that.
creations for those
Yeah,
that dynamic.
Yep. It held like 40,000 pounds of only that material. And so he comes back and he like just upends this bag and creates a small mountain, and the guy's like, Jesus Christ! Holy fuck!
You didn't mention what we made the dwarves into, because we didn't just like come in there and be all like, oh yeah, we're the inventors of proper nouns. No. We then made them from like smiths of like legendary weapons.
Oh yeah,
And gear and stuff too.
Wordsmiths, yes.
oh I forgot
yeah.
that. And at the end of it, you see one that was penning the Twilight books.
Right.
And then Asmodeus goes, I think you've done enough.
I think you're done enough.
No more messing up this dimension, guys.
So
Yeah,
there's
like I might still want a cool hammer, and all they're doing is like drinking coffee and talking about stuff.
during this campaign,
Poetry
I had-
that's very much like what is that? Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the worst poetry
Oh
in
my
the
God.
universe.
During this
Yeah.
campaign,
The
I had
Vogon poetry.
some scheduling issues. So, like, in game, Piotr would be, like, taking care of the church, and then Logie and Mr. Whiskers would, like, go off and do their own thing while I was, like, doing, like, the logistics side of things. And then I'd come back a week later, and, like, Piotr would get the lowdown from Logie and Mr. Whiskers, and it'd be like, you did what?
It literally became. It became such
Who?
a great piece of.
You did. You're gonna get us killed.
Outside of the game, it became an actual like source of like stress, but like happy stress for Ben. He would call and be like,
No, you'd
What
call
they do.
me as soon as the game was over.
"Oh no!" But we would also call. You'd call and be like, one of us would call the other one and be like,
So what
"Just so
happened
you
this
know."
time?
Just so you know, this is what they did. I remember the one time we're right in the very beginning. They're like, "You guys need to be low key and not over the top," and you're like, "Right." Let's have a festival with everybody in town. Make them sign the book, and you get like instead of being low key, the entire town is now,
Yeah.
had to sign their
Yeah,
souls
we-
over to you.
Set up a gladiatorial contest, and well, we just take anyone visiting in the region. So at that
It
point,
was so bad. Peter
Yeah,
was
they
like,
got that.
because we kept getting these I kept getting these visits from Asmodeus going, so, like, great job, but I was like, you're getting a lot of attention that you might not like, that I might not be able to shield you guys from. And I was like, guys,
we start
Yeah,
getting
what-
Slow your
visited
roll,
by like ever
and they're like,
more
"Get it."
powerful.
and then they go, got it, turn it up to 11.
Out of a
Mhm.
possible 5.
Well, what's funny is they had a guide who operated kind of like the cell phone to Asmodeus,
Yeah.
who was named Malthiel. He was an imp. And the imp, they were really nice to him for one point in time. They ended up like sliding him some souls.
Mm-hmm.
And so this imp like leveled up to like a spined devil. And he was like, holy fuck. So like he was in it because like the more power you get, you level up as a soul. So like in the end, like he ends up as they ascend to godhood, like Malthiel becomes a pit fiend. Oh my god, do you remember the bookworm pit fiend that would help you guys research spells?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like the one that he didn't want to do anything except just read. And the fact that you had a lich doing research for you at the end of it.
No.
Yeah, we have a lich and a pit fiend
This is a crazy
Yeah.
campaign. But
helping
anyways,
our homeboy get and learn some spells.
We've
Yeah,
we've
but,
gone off the rails a little bit. Basically,
why
over the
that
course of this
happened.
campaign, we derailed the timeline. Went back in time to before gods ever like became a thing, and installed a system of worship of Asmodeus before any other like gods could get a very aggressive system of worship of Asmodeus.
And then
But that basically subsumed every other religion in Faerun, to the point where when we returned to the like present,
Well, remember,
Asmodeus
that-
was like now like
The only thing worshipped.
yes.
well,
Pretty
you
much.
also had that gloom. What is it? The Gloomstalker giant Nyx. That is a giant eternal, he's a giant immortal entity,
Yep.
and just through a very lucky series of persuasion checks and just I'll
Good
scratch your
rolls.
back, you scratch mine. Everybody who came to the town of Waterdeep was no longer allowed to leave.
Yep.
So they got this giant creature to kind of like, once you're there, you stay there. So Waterdeep, 4,000 years in the future. So
It's
from the
like a
point where
hive city from
installed
like 40K.
yeah, it's like like tens.
It's like Mega
millions
City
of people
1
in
in Drudge Dread. Like
Yeah. And so, because of it, the belief in other gods didn't exist. Asmodeus is now operating 100% on the surface and in the hells. And, like, everything is this hyper-organized, ordered, system. And
so he starved all the other pantheons to death.
And now it's starting to ripple.
And then
We're like, hey, we see
that
you're a
brings us
thought
to-
in humanity's consciousness.
brings
Let's
us
just
to our
pinch
current
off your umbilical
campaign.
cord.
Yeah. That brings us to our current campaign, where the Chronology Wizard's like, ugh! Gets a massive migraine and is like, something just really weird just happened with the timeline. And it was a thing, and now it's not a thing, and it hurts my brains.
Yep, and only because he's a chrono wizard is he able to pick it up. You'll get a full explanation in-game next week. But this is a little backstory of probably one of the most fun campaigns I have ever had the privilege of running.
It's
That-
my most fun campaign.
One of the most fun campaigns you've ever run or played in. That's kind of where I was going with this original question, because like I think that the beginning of a year is a natural sort of time for everyone to kind of like both look back but also look forward. Like, you know, people are making plans, like they're making resolutions and stuff like that. And so, Ben, what would you say is like the funnest campaign you've ever like actually been a part of? Like maybe you DM'd it, maybe you were just a character. Like what's your bar that everything else gets graded against? You know what I'm saying? Like, because you always have that one campaign where it's like, oh my god, I fucking like loved it.
So, I mean, there's like different ways to answer that question. So, like, there's like the first like game I played where I like really got in character and enjoyed it. You know, there's like the first like long form campaign that I like played in. You know, like there's also like I've only actually successfully completed one campaign, and that's the one we were just talking about. So, you know, and each of those have their own, you know, fun things that I enjoy. Like I said, my first ever campaign that I like got really into, I played a half giant where I had a halfling stepbrother that we ended up that I ended up accidentally killing because I got sent into super rage by our bard, and that was a really fun experience, which is probably another story. But I also had I really enjoyed our Avernus campaign that we played before.
I ran
was a
that
lot of
one
fun.
too.
Yeah, that also ran by Joel. But I actually really think that my favorite campaign that I played, because I think I did the most thought about my backstory and how it transferred into the world, and also like we had the most chance to roleplay was the campaign we're just talking about, where I played Bishop Piotr Greylight. It was basically like,
which is not the voice he ended up with that you just did. You remember?
Yeah, I started that, and then I got really lazy about it, and he basically became Count Dooku, and it was just me with a very deep voice, deep, gruff, angry voice that would just chide Loki and Mr. Whiskers all the time.
There you go. That's
there it is. I found it again.
What
I started out as a Russian accent, and then it just became.
The whole campaign was Russian for a while.
Yeah,
like it's like everybody just decided this is the accent, except
and
for
then we're
David,
like, we're done with this. Yeah,
I keep getting stuck sometimes on, and this happens in I think all of our campaigns to some degree. Whoever is speaking directly for me, I'll start out speaking when it's my turn to talk, almost mimicking that. And I'm like, oh wait, that's not the character voice I'm supposed to be using. That's wrong.
So I think that was probably my favorite one, was because it's probably the character that I've had the most thought into.
And you actually finish it, so.
And I actually finished the campaign, so like between those two things, it makes me like think more fondly of it.
Yeah. All right. Well, kind of going off of that thought there, because you mentioned like a lot of campaigns that we've either started and never finished or whatnot. David, we've played a lot of games together and whatnot. Like, I want to know a little bit more about like, what would you say is the number one game that you've started that you really wanted to finish, but you just for one reason or another just never actually happened? Like,
I think there's probably two that stick out. One was like the first major campaign I think I ever played, which I got really lucky. Had a good DM. It was a small party with people I knew really well already. Back in 3.5. It was not. It was not. That was the
DM, none of you fuckers would have.
That DM set the bar for where it is now, and pretty much like I haven't been through a ton. I'm not like a super experienced player. Back in 3.5, I probably played with 4 or 5 different DMs. I really only like 2 of them. Didn't really play with any of those groups ever again. And then probably, well, you guys are all pretty good. Haven't had. Outside of Delta Green and Call of Cthulhu, I don't think you've game mastered for anything I've played so far.
God,
he hasn't.
I was
Brian
only
hasn't
thinking
DM'd
about
for me.
I was only thinking about D&D. Why didn't I think about fucking Call of Cthulhu?
Oh
Shit.
yeah, man. There's all kinds of games we played together. I think Ben's only DM'd a couple times. That was pretty fun. Joel's done a lot of this party's DMing. And it's been really solid. And then I just haven't got to see. I've heard a lot about Brian's D&D DMing, but I've really only seen him game master Call of Cthulhu and Delta Green. And honestly, everybody here does really good. So I'm just lucky like that.
I will
the
say,
first campaign.
The introductory scenario for Conan.
No, we've done Vampire.
Joel, yeah.
Joel maybe.
Not us.
We've done you. We've done Vampire, and we've done.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot we tried Vampire for a session.
And then Delta Green.
I feel like Vampire is one of those games that everybody's like, you will like it, and I'm like, but I don't want to like it. I don't like it.
I think I'm the only one in this group that likes Vampire, unless Brian secretly likes Vampire.
I'm totally
okay. So
Vampire.
Brian and I are Vampire homies.
Like
those two up top are lame.
I would like to give Vampire a different go. Like I agree that maybe maybe it's just I haven't given it a fair enough shake.
Yeah.
Because we tried to play Vampire with that was back when we were playing the games and they're starting to splinter a little bit. We had the group
that was with the really big group, right?
Yeah, and
that might have been it because like every turn took a really long time.
well, that and you had the one who did not give a shit about rules, and then two others who could not, for the life of them, sit still. We had a lot of issues with focus, and by the time it gets there, it's like, what are you going to do? I'm going to drink his blood, and they're like, okay, cool. We'll get back to you drinking his blood because it's going to take you 36 hours to do so because 3 of the other players have wandered off, and one is currently doing somersaults in the front yard. And you're like, all right. I hate this.
I think my problem with Vampire was my approach to it. Like in my mind, it was like, I'm a fresh vampire. I'm going to have these like moral qualms with like drinking blood and or killing people. But like the way it seems to like go is like you're immediately like dive into like, oh my God, the thirst.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was not ready for that. I was like trying to be like, Brian, how do I feel about this? And you're like, you're thirsty.
You're very, very thirsty.
I mean, it's just part of like, and actually, to a degree, I kind of blame the campaign that we were doing because for those of you who don't know, when Modifius still had the license for Vampire the Masquerade before it switched over to Renegade Games, Modifius basically put out like a starter set. Which was essentially like a standalone adventure for like new people to come into Vampire and learn about it, and it's it's very railroady to a degree, and
yeah,
I mean for a game that like Vampire where it's supposed to be more about personal experience and supposed to be more about like character driven like narrative. I find that like scenarios for it are really hard to like not only like write but like actually implement with a particular group because unless you're doing like pre-generated characters where you can like give someone like a character and say, oh, here's your backstory, here's what this kind of but
shut the door. Shut the door.
I don't know, I'd like to go back to Vampire at some point and actually try something a little bit different because the thing that interests me about Vampire, and this is a little bit biased on my own part, I completely acknowledge that, but back when I first started like running tabletop games, I didn't want to do the thing where I was like using published adventures. Like I wanted to kind of like I saw how other DMs would create this whole like world and all this backstory, and I said to myself like, that's what I want to do because I've got so many ideas for like cool things to like different adventures and stuff like that. And so I would go ahead and I would create like everything from scratch. Like I did not use like I used the maps for like books and whatnot, but I didn't actually use like any of the settings or like I mean I would maybe use
you use Rockford.
Oh well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, because when I was, first doing D&D, it was my whole like individual thing, and I really love doing that. But at the same time, like as that grew, as I kind of like had different jobs and I had to like get different responsibilities and whatnot, I had less and less time to do that kind of creative work when it came to D&D. And so I started running published adventures and everything else. And actually, now that I think about it, like I was really kind of a dumb person to like, brush off published adventures the way I did. But then when I started doing Vampire the Masquerade, because my wife, she got really into, well, I mean, she wanted to do werewolf, but at the moment, the newest edition of like the World of Darkness only has the vampires, which by the way, remind me to talk about that later on when we're talking about the future, because Werewolf and also Hunter are coming out this year.
What's the Mage one?
Mage the Ascension,
I would love to play.
I want to play Mage the Ascension.
I'm sure that's probably not that far behind.
Werewolf, I would play that. I would play that as too. I like the changeling stuff. Like it's just vampires. I know I've said this ad nauseum, but I've never been a vampire fan. Like a fan of vampires themselves, because of the 90% of the stories are just like, I'll watch it. Don't get me wrong, I'll watch vampire movies until my fucking face falls off. But like, It's just like the motivation is like, what are you gonna do today? Drink blood. And what? Maybe some more blood. What is that over there? It's blood in a tub.
I feel like
And then I'm gonna have a blood
Any-
sandwich. And then you live forever, you can do more than just blood. And they're like, blood?
I feel like any What We Do in the Shadows campaign, or sorry, I feel like any vampire. Sorry, all right. So
I want to be Nandor.
So
No, I want to be Colin Robinson.
So I feel like I reversed my words. I was gonna say I feel like any Vampire the Masquerade campaign this group comes up with is destined to devolve into What We Do in the Shadows.
I mean, that could be doable. That could.
That's amazing.
Yeah, all right.
I vote we do that.
Now on Nerds of Legend, we're scrapping that around, and next week will be the beginning of What We Do in the Shadows. I will be playing Colin Robinson.
I mean, if you guys have ever seen the movie What We Do in the Shadows, I always recommend that to like people who want to get into vampire, because I'm like, look, you're going to have all these ideas. You're going to be like, you're going to want to do the whole Bram Stoker Dracula route, but trust me,
there's more to it than that.
Becomes that. Yes.
Yeah, no matter what you do.
Yeah,
because you
and
could
not
go
only
like
that, but like
because
it's
you
got
could
a
go
really clear like thing where like you can tell in that movie like who is what clan of vampire. Like you'd be like, oh, he's Ventru, oh, he's Toreador. Like you just know, because it's like, oh man, like they had to have like played some hardcore vampire right before they made the movie, because like you just know it.
I could see it, honestly.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Giving who made the movie, that's like, really?
Yeah, and the TV
I
show is great.
I just love the 8,000-year-old vampire that eats chickens. Like that, where he just wakes him up and he's like, "Hello, here," and they just give him a chicken. They see feathers flying out, and his teeth like sticking out in the front. Like he's got like 40 teeth that just for some reason hang out above his lip.
The Nosferatu.
Oh my god, I love it.
Oh man,
What We Do in the Shadows is one of the best suggestions to watch, and
really
it's so dumb.
And yet at the same time, it completely prepares you for like everything that's about to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, it was so great. Like, the ridiculousness of it. Like, when they go to Atlantic City. Are you hitting the skids in there? Yes, we are. What? So stupid.
I do enjoy also that they brought LARPing into that show.
Oh my god, as a way to find virgins.
In CrossFit as well. I think that was my favorite part of that whole episode, or that whole like line of thought. He's like, all right, we're gonna try and tap out all these nerds that are stereotypically virgins. But he's like, shockingly, there's a lot of CrossFit virgins. Like, that's amazing.
The orgy episode where they're just Colin Robinson is walking around being boring as all get out in like a gimp suit with like a big rubber dick hanging off it.
Nandor comes down. He's got like 4 dicks just down the stairs, hanging off of his knees on a cod piece, just everywhere.
And they're like, so the orgy's a bust, huh? And they're like, no. And the virgin that they brought ended up having sex with somebody, like, because they left him unattended too long.
Yeah.
He ends up banging the gimp in the back room.
Yeah.
They catch him. He's just like, this is awesome.
And they're like, now he's ruined. Or the time where like Nandor, Colin bored them to the point of Colin Robinson bored them to the point of having no nutritional value.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, good. Now they're all grain. Now they won't even taste good anymore. Like,
or that one where like Colin Robinson just became like he like got promoted to manager, and then all of a sudden he's just like his brain was just like
he grew.
Oh yeah.
Hair.
He regrew his hair.
Yeah.
No, probably should have said this beforehand. Spoiler alerts for those who have not seen the show or the movie. We're just
I don't think that like we're
diarrhea shitting them out. Although if you haven't seen it by now, really, what have you been doing with your life?
Right? Yeah, seriously. Why are you even like doing anything if you're not watching what we do in the shadows?
Anyway, I
It's a
feel
good
like
show.
we
So, anyways, let's get back to our
have
stream.
derailed
Oh,
this.
right.
Oh, wow, that's a
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
we
powerful
gotta talk about what
storyline
we
right
do in the
there.
shadows until tomorrow.
I was
Sorry.
I was talking about like why I stopped doing like my own homebrew thing, and this is why I love Vampire, because when I was doing the homebrew thing, I was really happy about it, but I didn't get like a lot of experience, and I was still a new DM. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, but then I did the published adventures, and then I transitioned to Vampire, and the thing about Vampire is that it encourages you to essentially rethink the city that you live in as if it were part of the world of darkness. And that brought the homebrew like back in full force for me, where I started like going around to different stores in my hometown, and I would walk up to people and I'd be like, excuse me, do you guys have a basement? And they're like, what? And I'm like, oh, I'm looking for vampires. What? And they look at me like I'm fucking crazy. But like I would like I was back in homebrew full force for Vampire, and it was so good because I don't know, it's like a welcome home to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey,
Yeah.
you used to do this. Now here's a setting that just allows you to do that in full force. And the best part is like, because most of us here are like from the area, we can like identify certain places and whatnot and be like, oh, I know that place. Yeah. It makes sense vampires would be there.
Some of it actually does make a lot of sense. Like when you're at Alchemy, like when we played it for that brief bit, you're like, well, they're at Alchemy, and I'm like, it tracks. And then like the oldest ones like hang out at Cliff Breakers, and it's like, yeah. Where else would the oldest vampires?
No, there's also the ones not by Alchemy. There's like the one across the street place.
Hoffman House.
Yeah, Hoffman House. It's like, no, we woke up at Cliff Breakers.
No, you guys woke up.
No, we
in
woke
like
up.
a meat locker somewhere.
We came out.
Yeah.
We came out of the basement of Cliff Breakers.
Yeah, because like it's right on the Rock River, right next to like the Rockford Register Star and whatnot.
Yeah. So it was. I mean, it was interesting. It's just wrong group. I think this group would do well with it, but
that actually does help me transition to my next question, because I think that this is a problem that like a lot of people have, and it's something that almost everyone that I can think of like actually goes through at some point, and yet there's never really a clear answer, because I mean it's a tough question to like ask, but like problem, not just players, but problem like groups and whatnot, whether it's a problem DM, whether it's a problem player sort of thing. I think we've all had those games that like die specifically due to like the actions of one or a couple of people, and it could be a difficult thing to deal with. I want to get your guys' opinions. We'll start with Ben. Can you think of an instance in your mind where like, I mean, we don't need to name names or anything. I don't want to like, embarrass people or something like that.
Unless they're
I
one
will
of us.
name
four.
the fuck out of people. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. I'm like, let me talk about Ben.
My big thing that I've had a problem with, and it's less about like a play style in game, and it's more about just like, in my mind, like D&D and role playing games are like a social contract, right? So like,
absolutely, yeah.
So when you agree to like join a D&D campaign, like ideally, like when you guys are figuring that out, you agree to an interval or a time where you'll be doing it. So like in my mind, like if you're like I know that like life gets in the way and all that, but like at a certain point it's like, hey, we said we're doing Wednesdays at 7, or we're doing every other week, every other Saturday at 2, or like we're like once a month at like 5, you know what I mean? Like, so like my biggest thing was like is consistency, because like I try to be as consistent as possible with my schedule. I've got a kid, I've got a wife, and like as if I can be as consistent as possible with that, it's the easiest way for me to like guarantee that I have time to play D&D. That's my first pet peeve is like we had players that couldn't commit to that. My other one was like if you're not present. Like just because you're like showing up doesn't mean you're there. Like that's the other thing is like we've had like this is a group like at least me, Dave, and Brian, me, Joel, and Brian.
Joey, fuck you.
Fuck. Me, Joel, and David have at least been like playing together for
Every
like,
combination thereof.
Fuck.
Yeah.
I'm getting a little tipsy. So me, Joel, and David have been playing together for what?
Oh, on a different note, I just thought about this. You saying
almost 2 years
celebration. Ben got himself a promotion.
Oh
So
I did.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Ben. Yes,
well done, sir.
Yeah.
good job.
So,
Sorry, I figured that was it was a good promotion. So
yeah, it's a good promotion.
let's not detract from Ben and his ever-growing awesomeness.
Yeah.
Well done, sir.
Yeah, I'll be doing materials engineering stuff. But
All right, this is the Ben show. Hurry it up.
now that I've made a fool of myself because I can't say a series of names, like me, Joel, and David have been like playing together since what 20
early 2020.
I think was it spring 2020.
Even before that.
Spring 2020 or summer?
Oh, you're right. We had been playing when I was horrifically trying to DM the God, what is that one? The Abyss one. No,
Out of the Abyss.
Out of the Abyss.
Out of the Abyss. Yeah. Where I just literally gave you like the powers of a god at like level 5 because I had no idea what I was doing.
28. We've been playing together for like 4 years, and we've had like added and like taken out people, but like it's hard like when you want to play a campaign like to have like consistency and also like.
Did you just go somewhere? Like what just happened there?
I just my brain just like drifted off.
Yeah.
So like that's my
Like
big
how you're
thing
like-
is consistency, and then the other thing is like
Being present.
Yeah, my problem right now.
Yeah, right now. He's like, I just want to point out I hate myself at this
He's
very
showing us a
moment.
master course in what to
I'm
do.
giving you a master course in what not to do in a D&D
I just
session.
want to show you. All of this
No,
is the worst.
my big thing is shit.
All right, good job. Good
Go away.
job.
We'll move it on down the line. David, what about you?
Poor Ben.
You've
Ben,
played
you
a
did
fair
you
amount of
did
games
okay.
and whatnot.
It's true. I've played a reasonable amount. I'm not as seasoned as you there, Brian.
I mean,
Gary Gygax isn't as seasoned as Brian.
No shit. Do not strike me down, Lord Gygax.
The racist talk was a nice touch. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, guys.
oh, Gygax. We missed
You
you.
just 100% did that Family Guy where the guy takes his braces out. He's like, "I'm sorry, guys," and then like dips his retainer in the water, and is like, "So, how are you doing?" And then it was this deep voice. That's
Hello,
it.
fellow humans.
Fuck you and your deep resonant tones.
Sorry, David.
All right. Anyway,
I just thought-
moving on. What Ben? Go ahead. I think you're above me in the queue.
Yeah.
Fair.
I just realized my big like player thing.
Oh, we're back to that one. Is it focus? Is
No.
your big player thing
No.
focus?
The people that argue with the DM on the ruling.
I will say, as the DM,
That's
I will usually default to Ballard's ruling.
Right.
But,
But, like-
if you don't have, like... I'll wait till my turn to rage about that one.
That's my, like...
all right.
That's
it's
my
fair.
big one. Is because the only thing it does is slow things down. And, like, yeah, like... rules is written, yeah, maybe the DM's wrong, but like the DM is the one that's willing to run the game, so like maybe listen to the DM. Maybe his world runs differently than yours.
Rule
Continue.
zero, bitch.
Sorry, David.
Oh yeah. I've seen some really, really funky examples of that have been kind of fun, kind of frustrating at the same time. But I think it's just in general is if the whole like not good group dynamics. Like there's this one game, I only played one session with this group. I mean, it was a fairly large group and I had fun with those people, just like BSing in general. But in game, it was just like, it went from like an open world to, oh no, then they're not even the DMs. Only what like the people hosting at their house. I think one was the DM, one was not. And if it was outside of what they wanted to see in the game, oh man, either of them, whether it was the DM or not, was just like, nope, that's terrible. That's terrible. We're not even going to roll consequences. We're just going to say you're not allowed to do that here. I'm like, man, at least give me some jacked up consequences for being a dumbass. Or something.
At least give me a reason.
Not to be a dumbass. I'm like, this is cool. I'm going to try and play this game with all these people I normally get along with. It turns out people running it kind of, you know what? They might have their own particular fan group, and I'm not in it.
Yeah, it's called ruining Dungeons and Dragons. It's like,
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, whatever group you've got going on, you keep going. They seem to like that. I don't. I'm out.
Ruining D&D 101.
Yeah, and circling back to that rule 0, I played with someone, and it was frustrating in the moment, but also hilarious. Had us fight some stuff that appeared to be some pretty standard, low-level humans on mount situation. And we're like, okay, we know we're metaing in our minds, kind of like, we got this. The DM's like, nope, doesn't kill him. You keep hitting, doesn't do anything. And like, he made us land hits until it was Ethan. He made us land hits until he was entertained enough by the combat as the DM, not even a character, just as a DM. And then he let us proceed, and his story was just insane. I mean, I don't know if I would call it D&D. I don't even say you could loosely base it off. Well, yeah, I mean, technically we still had to make rolls using the dice, and we called it D&D, so I think that
So
counts.
was this like decision by him? Was it like?
Oh yeah, it was really, really out there. We just kind of took stat blocks and stuff like that out of it, and we're like, well, all right, we'll loosely base it off this game, but let's let this wild man DM this stuff. It was super fun, but really like, we don't know how this is gonna go. All right, there's a kobold. Let's all beat on it for 20 minutes.
So did you have to wait it out to a frustrating degree, or was he like just like, nah, the creature dies when I say it dies.
It went on for that like a little bit. We tried to arguing with him. We're like, or not really arguing. We're like, all right, we're all like level 1s, and we've managed to do like 50 damage to this one dude.
He's
like,
one of the dead, like,
he would just literally like make
kobold.
his face go, nope. As again. What's going on? He's like, you will fight until him, please. Like, all right, and using weird tones, like the intonation
that
and like
weird.
the group dynamic was like, oh, okay, this is how we're doing this game. And then it switched gears and it was super fun. So like the frustration, man, maybe like 30 seconds, 45 seconds of frustration. And then it was like, all right, we're just going to be really goofy as long as we're not like ruining the game for each other. We have way more room than this game should allow, especially in 3.5 to have some fun.
Oh god, fucking 3.5
So
days.
that was
I would love to
interesting
play a
stuff.
3.5 game.
No, you don't.
Like, you say
There's
that
a-
now, but like, you play
No, you
3.5
don't.
and you'd be all
You
like,
don't.
no, not my thing.
No, when you
Hey,
start
I
doing
was
like
gonna-
skill management,
so, like,
you're
the
like, all right,
problem
I
is-
need this skill and this skill at these ranks to do this. It's like 3 times the
The problem is
the normal
like,
calculations of
it's more to,
D&D. It's
it's
so
more
much
to
easier.
understand the evolution of the
Yeah.
process. It's like
so like
it's like when forging, when you
Yeah.
can't make a sword without making a letter opener first.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like
Nobody's like
3.5,
"First."
it's fun to like. It sounds fun when you talk about the characters because you're like, oh, I made this thing based off a thing in my mind, but you forget, you don't talk about the part where it took you 5 hours to like come up with the character sheet, whereas like 5e I can like build a level 5 character in like 20 minutes.
3.5 is what I would definitely say is my favorite edition. My favorite edition of D&D that I never want to play again.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
I agree.
Same. And be like, this is really awesome. The role playing would just like flow super well, but then like the combat. Oh, man, the combat. It took forever. It was awesome, but it took forever.
I feel like if I
Progression
got
that you guys would like have to do, where it's like I'm gonna put this many points, and don't get me wrong, it's not that I dislike being able to put points into whatever skills you want. It's just that like it was so asinine about like how you could only put this many points into this, and then like you would do the thing where it's like, oh, it's a cross class skill, so you have to spend like double the amount of points, and you can never like you get
Just
like
to
that
unlock
half
it.
percentage and whatnot. It's like, oh,
just to
no.
unlock it.
Yeah, it was just
Yeah.
it was weird dynamics. But I think
You sound
outside
like
of
you're
that, I've
telling
had
me any RPG game ever,
kind of.
like computer RPG.
Yeah, it's just less fun when you don't have a computer to do all the grunt work for you.
You don't have a computer to do the maths, so it's not as fun.
Yes,
Yeah,
but we have
I'm
an
really
engineer.
terrible at math,
Hey,
so it's super hard for
We
me.
have an engineer to do the math.
an engineer is not a supercomputer.
Maybe we just
That's
need a better
fair.
engineer.
Yeah, maybe
Outside
you
of
do.
those minor
Maybe
pet
you
peeves,
do.
I haven't really encountered too much.
What about you,
Like-
Joel? What's your like,
Nothing. I
problem?
find nothing but joy in all aspects of the game.
Liar.
Oh, you're fucking.
Impressive.
No.
Can you also
I
lift a
laugh
table
a lot.
with your boner?
Yes.
Mm.
Prove it
One a
right
day.
now.
just one.
Prove it right now. Show everybody your boner. Oh, it got weird. No, it was funny.
Yeah, this is an
It was funny.
OnlyFans. I mean, we can come close, but not quite that
our
far.
other one. No, it's funny.
Coming spring 2022.
The OnlyFans you didn't know you didn't want.
It's just us, like, and we're just like taking like weird
It's
photos
just
of like
like-
us covered
It's
in
just the
dice and shit.
camera angled down.
You
and
know
I'm
what?
still playing
If there
Dungeons
can be
and
a
Dragons.
vegetable dominatrix, I think we could do it.
Is that like a
Only nerd.
person that just like
Only
aggressively bangs? Oh, dude, that's funny.
No,
Okay,
like shames
so-
the vegetables and
Oh, that's
hits
awesome.
them like BDSM dominatrix. Yeah, no actual sex, just kink with vegetables on vegetables
So-
for vegetables.
I'm literally
Joel,
speechless at this moment.
Ignore David.
So
Just
mine-
keep talking.
Mine,
Oh my God. What is
mine
going
goes
on?
with
Let's
the
get some
same
kink
as
going.
Ben's. It's funny when Ben was talking, I was laughing.
Yeah,
because,
talk
like,
nerdy to me, Brian.
We've had
Tell me
we've
how you
had
really
this
feel.
conversation so many times of the game being a social contract.
Yeah.
And I take it a little bit further because I'm usually like recently I've been the DM. And so if you tell me, and we have all spent the time doing like a session 0, and like David's like, I'm going to be the fighter, and Brian's like, I'll do the rogue or I'll do stealth or whatever, and Ben is, high magic, and the other person's like, I'm going to do healer, and then they come to me with some fucked up thing that's not a healer, like, I don't know, a bard. You're like, what are you doing? Or if you come in there or if you're like, I'm going to be the healer, but I've decided my healer's not going to heal. You should have probably given that dynamic out in the beginning. Like, yeah, but for flavor, my character won't heal. They'll bless all the time, or they'll give buffs all the time, or they'll, let us know.
Then you're not a
Because-
healer, you're a support.
Yeah, but the thing being is, like, you have to decide as a player if you're going to do it. And there is no for those 2 hours or 4 hours or however long you're playing and you've agreed to play, that you follow the role you pick because you've got a number of other people. In our case, there are 4 of us. I agree to tell the story, right? That's my promise. My promise is I will tell a story to you guys, and you 3 have promised that whatever I try to do, you will work.
I will try my hardest to fuck it up.
Yeah. There is no matter what my story is, you guys have made a promise that you will do your absolute hardest to have nothing to do with whatever I planned. Like, in any way. But honestly, but you all never break your character. Like, you're all absolute lunatics, but you're in-character lunatics. Like, Tikto never tries to break out and be like, well, I'm a fighter now. You know, Fodor never is like, I'm going to act like the rogue. Like, you guys, I get your classes, and then you do whatever you can to fuck it up because you can't. Like, that's the game. The story moves forward in its own weird pace, and but it's enjoyable. You guys are present. You guys are there. The players that come in that are like, I'm going to double schedule. Like, oh, I can have a conversation while we're here. Like, I can text somebody while we're here, or I can. Don't worry, it's just D&D, so I can, if I got to get off here and make a phone call or whatever, I could do that. Like, no, because some of us, as Ben said, I work third shift. I've got a lot going on. I've got a son that's got special needs that I'm trying to help him get through. He's transitioning into college, and it's a particular struggle. So I'm busy, newly married. Brian's got children, and he's got his schedule.
This is like my one night a week where I have available to
it's
play for a big chunk. When I set that aside. Sorry, I'm interrupting you, but
no, you're supporting it.
When I the reason I say it's a social contract is I have one night a week where I've told my wife where it's this time is for D&D time. I can't be interrupted. I have to do it. But when I go to play and those people don't either don't show up, or B, I find out the night before or the day before or the day of that oh, by the way, I can't play tonight. It's I was well, right. I guess we're not playing this week because this is my one time a week where I can play.
Right.
Yeah. And it gets to the point is my wife is very respective of this is my downtime. I enjoy this. I enjoy playing this game. I enjoy the people I play with, and it's a great decompress from whatever I'm actually doing in the world. So I look forward to this time.
Yeah.
And for the game players that come in that decide to do things outside of it, it just makes things more difficult. I mean, I've dealt with the characters who are well, I'm the face of the party, but I'm not going to do any talking because I don't like talking. Then why? Why did you pick that character? I'm going to be a barbarian, but I'm not going to fight. Why? Why did you pick this? You deliberately are doing it just to piss people off. What are you showing me?
The expansion pack to your card game.
This card game has got some of the best art. It's so fun. But anyway, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Sorry.
But that's mine. That's my frustration of being there. And then as far as for the DM, and this goes for myself as well. And sometimes you guys have caught me where I'm super tired, or I haven't had the chance. But it's also the ones that don't bother to prepare, and so they don't pay attention. And I've played before with the DM who was I don't know, whatever you want. What do you do? How many people are there? I don't know, however many you want me to be.
Fuck it, I'm just winging it.
No, are you kidding me? I wing it 99% of the time. Almost everything that comes out of my mouth.
What he's talking about is even lazier than winging it. It's just what are you doing? I don't know. You DM.
Yeah, literally,
Agent.
we played a game where one time where I remember actually we played a game where it was that way, and Brian and I played it together, and we ended up ritually killing ourselves, like in game to be like we're done. Yeah,
I remember that.
Cuckoo.
One. Yeah.
Yes. That
So-
sounds awful. You suicided your characters to escape the game. Wow.
yeah. Well, the thing is
Wow.
the concept was really interesting, and I would love to play it again, but the DM was going through a little bit of things at the time and was mentally not present, and didn't have the ability to be present at the time. He had a great concept, but was trying to do too many things at the same time. And if you can't give the time to do it, to give the amount of time you said to the game, I mean, at that point in time, it was just we were playing at work, and so we'd play for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 15 minutes. You know, we play about an hour a night at work on our breaks, and but he was too busy. He was lost in what he was doing, and so. I also had the other one that would argue. Like my other one is rule lawyers. Unless you are an actual like writer for Wizards of the Coast, shut the fuck up. Like I don't care. Like if I sit there and you're like, actually spells work. Listen, well in this world, magic missile only fires to your own ass. So guess those 3 shots went right into your own butt. You happy now? No? Maybe shut up. God of the realm. DM, be quiet.
Well, I feel like the big problem is like there's a lot of like, oh, that's not what the rules say. Well, it doesn't matter what the rules say. The DM says it's this, and unless
well, there's also
like, and unless the like DM's like choosing to follow that rule because he's trying to be unfair or whatever, like. Then like who gives a shit? Like maybe the DM's world works different from what the rules of the Forgotten Realms are. Like we're not like it even says that in like the DM's guide is like you're not supposed to expect everyone to like be a encyclopedia of rules, and at the end it's up to the DM of what rules are to be followed.
Correct. See, now that's the thing, and then the other one is like. The people that watch the stream, not whoever's watching this stream, you guys are brilliant, wonderful people.
You're awesome.
But,
Thank you very much.
You guys rock.
The people that watch a stream and are like, it has to be this way.
Luckily, we haven't had that yet, but
no, I have. I've had like our problem player in Avernus was. It's not like when I watch Critical Role. It's not like this. Like I would get calls and then be like, "Well, when I see on TV."
Oh yeah, maybe.
When
so
you.
Bad. Oh, I would have yelled at him so bad.
When you.
Sorry, I'm sick right now, so I'm coughing.
When I switch and Brian is going to DM the next game, he does it differently than I do. And does it mean the story is going to be worse? No.
Yes.
No. Does it mean the story is going to be like lackluster? Are you going to sit there and be like, Brian's story sucks compared to Joel's? No, they're just different. We could tell the exact same story, and it is going to be wildly different, even with the same source material. Like I had the privilege of, and it was an actual privilege of being able to start playing Dungeons and Dragons with Brian, and my first, I was able to join when my character was level 6, and which isn't too high to figure out what they're doing, but I got to carry this campaign to its completion, and so to me, I was like, that was awesome. Like now you have to complete all the campaigns, but it was an awesome feeling. But I guarantee, if I tell the story, it's going to be wildly different than the way that Brian told the story. You know, but both will be equally as valid. People that come in there and are trying to get you to tell the story like how they believe it should be told, well, the only way that'll happen is if they are telling the story, so they can shut up. You know, that's like when a 7-year-old or a 5-year-old comes up and is like, I'm sorry, peanut butter goes on the top of my peanut butter jelly sandwiches. Well, then starve and die, kid. I'm sorry, because you can just turn the sandwich over, peanut butter's on the top, or you can pretend like it's an insurmountable task. Like, eat it or be done with it. Like, just if you want to play Dungeons and Dragons, play Dungeons and Dragons. You have to accept the fact that the rules are what is being said at the table. They're going to be different. And if your DM's worth anything, they're going to come up with some weird scenarios that aren't covered in the DM's guide. Because, that's what makes it half the fun. I mean, find one spot in any book that says shooting lightning at a warforged caused it to be a cocaine-fueled, terror beast that turns into an 8-legged centaur supermount. I mean, I guarantee you're not going to find that. You could probably type that in, and the only time it'll come across will be my storytelling,
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the fun of Dungeons and Dragons, is when I retell the Great Grift, it's going to be different. But the same plot line will be there. And I will retell that story. That was a great story.
You'd write a book about that shit. That was great.
I am working on a book on that one. That one was such a fun story.
Are any of you guys familiar with the writer and also the YouTuber Seth Grorkowski? Anyone? No?
I feel like I've
Seth
seen
Grorkowski?
it. I'm not super familiar with it.
Seth Grorkowski is an amazing fantasy writer. He did a bunch of different high fantasy books. He does urban fantasy really well. His new book, Ashes of Onyx, is a multi-dimension hopping revenge fantasy with a little bit of Cthulhu horror mixed in. It's fucking amazing. But he also does a lot of YouTube videos, and one of his series is RPG philosophy. He basically breaks down character types and player types, and he talks a lot about the social contract. In fact, it was one of his first videos when he started his YouTube channel.
Okay, yeah, I've seen this guy.
Yeah, and he nailed it spot on when he did that video. But for me, the thing that got me or I was just pointing at the screen like Leonardo DiCaprio, I was doing the whole thing, where it's oh man, and he did a video on the roleplay terrorist. Essentially, yeah, exactly that, yeah. So he did this whole video about how some people just want to hold the game hostage for their own enjoyment, and that is exactly he broke it down into a bunch of different types of players. You've got the rage monster who gets upset when things don't go their way and stuff like that. You've got the person who's the puppet master, who's just kind of out there trying to control everyone else's actions to kind of make his own actions seem more meaningful. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, he did this video, and I'm that is exactly the kind of person that I have played with for a long time. We all know the person who I'm talking about, because I think
you're talking about me. Fuck you.
Yeah,
I'll do
fuck
what I
you.
want.
Get the hell out of my fucking game. No.
Yeah, sick of you.
But no, I mean, when you have a person who's suffering mentally, you know what I'm saying? When they're not there, not because they're distracted by the new meme or whatnot, or whether they're whatever.
You're talking about the people that want to play their fantasies out too.
Yeah.
Of being the most powerful man, or the revenge on something. Yeah. Or the person who has decided that you weren't there for our Avernus game, but we had a character. No, it wasn't that. It was when Ben was running Icewind Dale. And the character's I'm going to be a rogue, but all he did was perch on buildings so he could be the opening scene of every Batman cartoon.
Yeah.
I just perch on the buildings in my cape and build in the wind. And that was the entirety of the character concept that he had. And
I'm a tiefling, therefore we're going to come across this giant cave where there's dwarf meat sizzling. I'm going to eat it because I'm a tiefling, therefore it's not cannibalism.
Swear.
It was it was literally I'm Batman. What about that? I'm Batman. Do you have anything? Does Batman do anything? Batman. All right. So.
No.
Oh,
Batman.
sorry. That segues into something else from my own personal experience. For players, put a little bit more thought into your character because it's like when I came up with Dabble Dab, my whole point was just a gnome that talks like Samuel L. Jackson, and that was really funny for about 7 seconds. And then I was left floating around being like, what the hell else does this guy do?
Yeah.
Nothing. He just says fuck a lot. This character sucks.
Well,
So
that was like our Avernus campaign was like I was going to be like just like Mr. Tumnus, Satyr. And
somehow you became a drunken golden dick.
well,
satyr.
that's because we had this other guy, same guy, who was like, I'm going to be the super posh paladin. I'm like, well, we can't have two characters that are super posh assholes. So I'm going to be the foil to that.
Yeah.
So
all right,
then
sorry, we took over.
my satyr became basically Danny DeVito from It's Always Sunny / Danny DeVito from Hercules as Philoctetes for his satyr. And that's where
just
shit
Danny
got
DeVito
wild.
at that point.
It's like,
Yeah, he's just Danny
I'm
DeVito.
just gonna be as lewd and as crass as physically possible, and make
And you
everyone else
fucking loved it.
uncomfortable.
Don't even pretend like you didn't love Zaragos.
It got a bit much over time, but for a while it was great.
And then it started blasting.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, I started blasting with my cock.
I love how quickly
Oh,
that can
that-
become a double entendre.
That too. One of the best things was I created special creature. Like everybody's got like a magic weapon in that one, and one was a golden.
My
cod
spell
piece
focus
that-
was a golden bejeweled cod piece that I cast my magic from. So it'd be like, kapow! Lightning bolt.
But what was cool is they met Stanley from our Call of Cthulhu game, who could pull enchantments off of items and like socket them into gems. But then once it's done, it's done. Like you can't use it again or be removed. So his cod piece is getting augmented constantly.
Nice.
All right,
Well-
sorry, we hijacked what you were saying. So continue.
No. That was basically it. I was just saying like how, I think we all have that experience with problem players. I'm gonna actually move off of like problem players because that can sometimes be like a negative sort of thing.
It is. Can we take a brief moment and transition because we're trying to like not dwell on the negative? Can we go around and say what is everybody's favorite aspect or favorite most positive character trait?
Well, what we'll do is I think we should take a quick 5-minute break. We'll come back. We'll get onto that favorite, either player or character aspect or whatnot, and then we'll transition to the future for the last 30 minutes of our night. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Agreed.
All right. So we'll be back in 5 minutes. Everyone take a break. Get yourself something to drink, and we'll see you soon.
Be right back.
all the time. Like a little bit of positive would be good.
Going live right now.
Okay, we're back. Thank you for joining us again. Hey, David, will you do me a favor?
No, man.
Oh, come on, man. It's real simple. Look, all I need from you is I need 20 D20s.
He can't fulfill that request.
What do you mean he can't? He doesn't have tabletop loot.
He's
Oh
not a
my god.
he's not a dice
He's not cool
goblin
enough
like
yet.
the rest of us.
Oh, come on, man.
I could do
One
that
day.
right now. I'm staring at 20 D20s right now, and it's thanks to tabletop loot.
Yeah, I mean, come on. $25
You're right,
a
man. You
month.
guys are dice shaming me. I feel attacked.
Yeah,
Just a
You
little bit.
your dice collection is bad, and you should feel bad.
I just don't understand how you can't be on. Because seriously, $25 a month gets you minimum 4 sets of dice every month delivered to your door, hassle free, and they're always fucking like awesome. And I just don't understand why you're not on it at this point. Did you know, David? Did you know that you could go to Tabletop Loot right now and put in the code NOL15 and get 15% off of any single purchase aside from their like monthly crate on their entire site? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I don't understand this.
Well, Brian, I have a malfunction that causes me to greatly dislike everything cool.
Oh, well.
Therefore, I can't join this amazing website,
You
Tabletop Loot, and get my swank bag every month. That would enable me to fulfill this request for you today.
well, I can't. I if you have a medical thing and
Born to shill.
I'm gonna go cry now. My lack of dice. I feel dehumanized.
This is
We love
all tabletop loot dice.
Man, I wish I had a sack that
So
full of fondle like
good.
Ben's doing now.
tabletoploot.com. Anyways,
Mhm.
Hate it.
Fat Sacks, brought to you by Tabletop Loot. Guaranteed.
I hated
A
that.
ridiculous amount of dice.
Tabletop loot hated that.
they're all like,
Organically just
This
flowed.
is, Brian, this is not what we asked for.
guys, this is not working out. We can't have you.
all of a sudden, they're like, orders have gone through the roof. We've also gotten a shitload of dick pics. Don't know how this happened. They're like, I want to order all of your dice. Also, you want to see a full sack? Here. Ah! So many orders. So many bleached eyeballs.
So many dice.
Yeah, so many dice sold. So many dicks.
Well, transitioning from dicks, and let's talk about positive qualities. Ben, real quick, just give me like top of your head. What's your favorite like quality in a player?
I would say consistent. I would say able, like good natured. If that is I don't know if that's a good descriptor, but I would also say, like if you're someone who's like able, like good at improvisation, because like that's like at the end of the day, like D&D is guided improv. Like there's no formula to how D&D interactions happen, but like if you're able to like roll with the punches of like a given interaction, like that's like the biggest thing that needs to happen is like someone needs to be able to react to a situation without having things explained to them. So like if you're able to like be good at reacting to situations, I feel like that's almost the most important skill.
So clever, cool. All right, Joel. Hey, what is your favorite like player quality?
Adaptability. I want somebody that is going to be able to roll with whatever weird storyline I decide to throw out. Someone to be like, right, let's do this. Like, that kind of thing.
That's
And not one that's
terrible
like,
idea.
eh.
What time?
Yeah, love it. Like, you could be like, that's not what I plan to do today, but guess this is what we're doing. Like that kind, the kind that'll roll with the punches and is good natured about it. Like, everybody gets the one that wants to play their fantasy out and be like, I'm this, and this is the only thing I do. And then you're like, well, give me a perception roll. They're like, I don't want to perceive anything ever. And you're like, what?
Penguins.
They're like, all I've ever wanted was to not use a perception check one time. And you're like, that's stupid. Like, so the players that are like, hell yeah, I'm here for it. Like, and if you give them a weird one, like the barbarian, be like, intelligence check. They're like, here we go. Let's see what this is going to
like,
be.
When I say, like, adaptability, I'm like, there's a difference between, I like turtles, and then, like, someone who's like, yes, and me in an interaction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, not necessarily random, but like they, yeah.
Yeah.
David, what's your favorite player, like, just quality, like, in general? Top of your head.
Entertaining. I like a positive, entertaining player, or even a negative, entertaining player. As long as it's making the session fun for me, and I'm enjoying what's going on. I don't want to say adaptability, because I mean that really is, you have to be able to adapt to the situation. That's already been covered by, this here and that over. How do I point there? These guys.
I don't know where
So I'm gonna go with that. Like, I wanna see entertaining players doing entertaining things, and it being like genuinely fun as fuck.
Right on.
Agreed.
I'd say my favorite player quality has to be the kind of player who gives feedback. Like, if I'm running a game, I love when, like, players are so energized about my games that they're, like, talking to me outside of game about the game and, like, asking when the next one's going to happen, or, like, going over, like, oh, hey, here's my plan for, like, what this character's going to do. And I mean, it almost never actually happens, because as soon as dice hit the table, you're fucked. But, like,
the minute you roll anything, you're like, yeah.
But I just love the kind of person who's excited to be at the table and who wants to, like, actually be there and do this thing with everyone else. You know what I'm saying? So I guess excited, but, like, also it gives feedback.
Speaking of something that you just said, as soon as dice hit the table, like, that just caused, like, a cascade loop in my brain of, like, all these thoughts of, like, imagine the hubris of the writers of the stories at Wizards of the Coast, who are so confident that they have created a cohesive storyline that they can print it in a book and then give it to you. And I'll be like, this is how your story is supposed to go. And they never played Dungeons and Dragons one time. They, like, like, I just find it funny that, like, there's a group of people who are like, yes, we could keep the players on track so well, we can make books about it. And I'm like, I can't even keep these fuckers on a train.
That's why I think I love Curse of Strahd most of all, because it's so open-ended. Like, you don't have to keep them on a train.
No, but, like, Descent to Avernus, there's a point where, like, no matter what happens, they end up. It's, like, super arbitrary. The world's falling apart, and then all of a sudden, this, like, tiefling is like, "Hey, you want to go to hell and save the city?" Like, every other adventure could be like, "No, fuck yourself! Like, why would I do that?" Yeah, like,
I'm level 1. Where's the exit?
Yeah, right. Like, fuck that. There's a tavern. Like, I'm out.
Oh.
I thought it was. All right. Anyway, so to the future, Brian, tell us, what do we got coming up this year?
Oh, I mean, where to start? As far as Wizards of the Coast goes, we got 2 new products slated for release. We got the brand new monster manual that's going to be coming out. Mordekainen, yes.
So excited! That will be pre-ordered for our use on Friday. So
now, are you ordering the slipcase that comes with the 2 additional books? Or
no, I do the D&D. I'm getting the D&D Beyond one for our use on the stream. So for
Nice.
whatever we decide to use it for. But yes, I will be getting whatever fancy pants over the top copy I can to put on my shelves, look at, and then lightly touch as if they are my tomes of magic.
For those of you who don't know, the book that we're talking about is called Mordekainen Presents Monsters of the Multiverse. Right now, you can go
So
on
excited.
Amazon.com and you can pre-order the hardcover copy alone for a slated release of May 17th, or you can actually get a sexy slipcase set that includes Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, Xanthar's Guide to Everything, and Monsters of the Multiverse, plus a new DM screen for only $120.85. And that is actually slated for release at actually I think that's already out. So I mean you
I think it
could
did.
potentially you can get that right now on Amazon.com. But as far as D&D is concerned, they also have a new book for the Critical Role universe.
Tales of Alexandria, right? Or
Call of the Netherdeep.
oh, okay. What's another Taldori is setting, I believe. Yeah, I saw that just the other night.
Yeah. And that's also on Amazon. I believe that's slated for, what is that, March? I want to say.
Yeah. What?
Ooh, Monster of the Multiverse not released yet. I don't think, is it?
Yeah. It will be pre-ordered for us though, because I want it.
March 15th. That's what it was. You can get that right now on Amazon.com at $44.96. So if you're looking for more Critical Role adventure path in your life, you can't get much better than that. As far as other companies are concerned, because you guys know how I'm a big fan of like all sorts of shit, like Vampire, Call of Cthulhu. For the World of Darkness, they are Renegade Studios is coming out with not just their take on Werewolf the Apocalypse for the new edition, but also Hunter, which is like the human side of things. But then on top of that, they also have more books for their vampire series, including one book for the Second Inquisition, which details like all the different like human threats to vampires. And you can
no one expects the Spanish Inquisition.
No one expects the Spanish Inquisition. Yes, so you can actually go ahead and pre-order that book right now. The Guide to the Second Inquisition. That's available for pre-order right now. I believe Werewolf and Hunter, however, is slated for an early spring release. I that could still be subject to change, but I believe that's when it's coming out. Speaking of Renegade games, and I just got this one in the mail, so I want to get your guys' live reaction to it. Because Renegade Games came out with their own, I guess you could say, system, much in the way that, like, D&D has the D20 system. You've got, like, Modifius has the 2D20 system that they use for both Conan as well as Dishonored and Star Trek. Renegade Games, however, came out with their own system that they have for both the Transformers, G.I. Joe, and Power Rangers.
Oh my god, that was serious?
Oh yeah,
That's amazing.
I thought you were just being a dork.
no,
I didn't know that was an actual game.
This is absolutely. It's called the E20 system, and it is. I've been looking it over. It looks very interesting because it's a kind of like a class or a level based system, but rather than have like barbarian or fighter or whatnot, your actual like progression, if you will, is based off the color ranger you choose.
Oh my god! And whatever racial stereotype they're unconsciously putting it into the system. That one. Like, that's also what they're doing?
I mean,
just the worst planning that nobody stopped to run it by during production.
Yeah. Saban really dropped the ball on that one. We all know.
Yeah, he really did. But it is invaluable for memes forever.
Yes. Yeah, so I'm actually kind of excited to see what this is all about because I mean, brand new system. I kind of want to see how it plays.
I mean, honestly, I'd be down. I'd be down for a special this year for on Nerds of Legend. Would be more than happy to do a Power Rangers. I don't know if I'm speaking for everybody, but I'll play some Power Rangers. Like I could whip up some campy superhero nonsense. That'd be great.
It does actually have an introductory
That'd be
adventure
amazing.
right here in the pages. So I mean,
Will it be will it be to in space so we can my character could suddenly be like a bard to go try to get with Galaxia? Like, you was the only hot villain in the series. How you doing?
Rita's gonna tell you to stop banging all the putties, man. That's what's gonna happen.
Oh, it's Rita? Nobody's doing Rita. But
Actually,
if it was Power Rangers in
The
space.
putties.
They do have the stuff in here for if you wanted to, because it covers the whole Zordon era of Power Rangers, which includes Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Zeo Rangers, Turbo Rangers, and Rangers in Space. So there is 100% like the availability here to kind of really play with it and see what kind of things like they have got different Zords in here. They've got all sorts of like different like modifications as far as like your armor is concerned. So it looks really interesting. I'm very curious to try that one out. As far as Chaosium is concerned, they're already releasing some new stuff this year, including right now on Chaosium, you can go and get the newest adventure for them as soon as I find that here real quick. Because I want to make sure that I'm, doing one of my favorite gaming companies right by giving you guys accurate information about their fucking awesome shit. Yes, Call of Cthulhu, come to me.
And we're back. Call of Cthulhu.
Woo!
No. Right. Call of Cthulhu, the best.
That's
So,
right.
Probably.
You can go to Chaosium right now, and you can look up their PDF copy for A Time to Harvest, and that is their newest adventure. That is, of course, on Chaosium. You can buy it for $25.99. And the best thing about Chaosium is that whenever you buy a PDF from them, they will go ahead and they'll sell you the PDF copy. But then when the hardcover actually comes out, if you still want to get like a physical copy, they will subtract the price that you paid for the PDF from that initial total so that you can actually get like your money's worth and like have everything you need. It's just a great system. I can't go on about Chaosium enough. They are
That's awesome.
it is easily the best company I've ever encountered as far as like just their customization towards customer service. It's great.
I would love to do a special session on Nerds of Legend with a Call of Cthulhu, especially one that gets to revisit a lot of our old characters,
Yes.
and maybe invite Alex back onto the stream because he was James was a wonderful character.
James
So,
and Seamus.
I would love to
the
bring
combination
back
of
good
the two.
old. I would love to bring back some of that this year. That would be a nice addition if we decide to take a break from Eberron and whatever nonsense you guys are doing.
We haven't really talked about it, but like the one that I've been really excited about is Strixhaven. They have like a short campaign in the Wizards has a short campaign for Strixhaven, and it's like D&D Harry Potter and is pretty rad. And like I know what I struggle with a lot when I'm DMing is when there's like a lot of like big like branching possibilities, and like the nice thing with like if you're doing like a like fantasy like high school scenario, like you can just go like it's like a chronological thing, so it's like but the direction I've been reading through Strixhaven and like the path that the campaign goes, it's a really well written campaign for that sort of setting, and I'd be willing to visit that.
I'm sorry. As soon as you talk about Harry Potter, and then I imagine like in Dungeons and Dragons.
I mean, if
the
we
part
do,
where he's like,
he's
like, you're a wizard, Harry. They're like, yeah, because he's a fucking nerd. All nerds are wizards.
yeah.
Like,
No, but so like the weird thing about Strixhaven is like you don't have to just be a wizard. It's like the application of the different houses in Strixhaven is like so like you have like order versus chaos. You've got like decay and life. You've got
the ink magic is like the stuff that they see in the Magic the Gathering stuff with the Inklings and things like that. That's something I would like to see. Like,
it's so cool.
How
I would love to play within that setting, and I would actually love to play that. Like, I would actually love to DM that, but like, obviously we want to finish Eberron first. But
well, you guys go ahead.
I was gonna say like that actually transitions really well into like another thing I wanted to talk about in the future, because it's not just upcoming releases. I wanted to talk about like, what our goals are for this year. Ben, you just said like you'd love to run Strixhaven. Joel, what would you say is like your white whale? That's something you want to really accomplish this year.
I've been talking about it ever since we completed the Great Grip, but I wanted to do, and I'm thinking I got a really interesting way of tying it in to our current game, but I would love to do an epic level campaign where the gods come back and are like, you fucked us, like let's and where you characters have to like kind of come back and defend what has happened. Yeah, well, especially if I'm able to tie the storyline into the Eberron one. I mean, I love those characters so much. And the fact that they all ascended to godhood and were like still continuing to wreck shop.
Like if our guys right now go and like reawaken the gods or something, like because I can't imagine that the dragons above and what are the three gods in Eberron? The dragon above, the dragon
Eberron.
below, and the dragon
in the middle.
Yeah.
Like if we can get them to like wake up and be like, this isn't okay.
I don't think that's a possible thing, because to wake the dragon in the middle up would destroy Eberron.
Well, yeah.
Because the dragon in the middle is Eberron, and the dragon below is raptured in Eberron. But you know what? The way you jackasses play, it's totally like
maybe we wake them up and they're like, "This, we need to give some power and we need to fuck shit up." Who knows?
But that one, and then in addition, there's a group of people who have been badgering me to write stories. They will remain nameless. It's you guys, and I would also have been toying with the idea of like starting to write and then doing like chapter readings of the stories on the stream, seeing what people think of that too. That one I'd really like some feedback on. If anybody says if they'd be willing to hear any of the stories that we write that are from the old campaigns or like just bullshit I make up.
I mean, if we want, we could make that into like I mean, this is like meta, but like for Twitch stuff, we have to like do more than one stream a week, so that could be something that could be like extra.
How is that meta if it's just part of like living?
I guess we're not being meta right now because that's this whole episode is
not in game, bro.
Talk nerdy to me is meta, but
yeah. So
what about you?
But that's my goal.
What's your goals, David? Like, as a player, do you want to try DMing stuff? Like, do you want to try a particular system? Like, what do you like to do with this year?
Honestly, goal number one: get a better chair.
Nature wizard.
I mean, it is directly related to it. I mean,
oh my god! How do you play with us?
Straight back wood chair. Yeah, it's true. I can learn to be comfortable anywhere, even if I'm not actually comfortable.
Sounds like you could really use tabletop loot, because even though they won't give you a chair,
if they will send me a chair, I'm about it. One day I'll have the
You
spare
heard it.
loot to get my own loot from
You
tabletop.
heard it here, tabletop loot. Make chairs, and you got a new customer.
You make a gaming chair, I will shamelessly shill it until I die from it.
So like,
Oh, well,
also
there you go.
like small goal is
My priority number one. Comfy chair.
Comfy chair.
like
What would you say is,
like
your
a
gaming priority.
Oh, that's because it's directly related to gaming, but I do have like secondary and tertiary goals that are probably more directly important to gaming. I think I don't know. We've discussed too many game systems that all sound awesome, so like all of them I would like to try. Definitely like to do some more Delta Green. Really curious about Power Rangers. Like, that's
It's so weird because like
not a
you would have
long
never
haul
thought
fan,
about
but like super clutch to my childhood, man. I'm about it. I need it in my life.
It's weird, like
wanna
it's
try
one of those
that.
things you didn't know you'd want to play until he held the book out. Like if somebody would be like, "You want to play Power Rangers?" You're like, "No," and then he's
Yes,
like,
that would be a resounding yes.
holds the book up. And you
How
How
go,
would you say
go,
no
Power
to Power Rangers? Even if you
Rangers!
don't have a book, someone's like, "Do you want to pretend to be Power Rangers?" I'm like, "I'm pretty sure I've got some sweatpants and a hoodie that match in color. Let's go outside."
Pretty sure.
In my 30s.
Pretty sure I've already done that at some point in my life.
Yeah, I'm like, I will do that. Gray-haired and all at this point. They don't show on camera, but I got a lot of them.
It's like, no, why
Go
would I
outside
want
and
to
be a
do that?
Power
Go,
Ranger.
go, Power Rangers!
Go Power Rangers! I was probably super off key because this does not have active feedback.
it
Probably
actually
sound
sounded
like
the show was on
Yeah.
in the background.
you're fucking with me, but yes.
That's exactly how I remember.
But I'd really like to try some of these new game systems. I don't know if I'm up to DMing. I know back in 3.5, I toyed with the idea of making a campaign that was relevant to my interest at the time. And wow. Maybe I was overthinking it. I can't just riff quite
It's
as
a
good
lot. It's a lot.
as Joel can.
It's a lot easier to do a campaign in 5e than it was to 3.5. I feel like.
Especially if you
I
run a
was
published adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to do like a whole homebrew after watching a bunch of people do it,
No.
and I mean 3.5 dynamics out. I'm sure I was nuking the hell out of it. Like I'm overthinking this, I'm overcomplicating this. I need to just get organized, get a set of monsters, figure out how to do this, and I couldn't make my brain wrap around the entire problem.
I
I'm
would
like,
say
I might just be meant for the player seat. I'm pretty cool with that. Maybe one day
Honestly, I'll be
I'll like to DM, but
a tick behind my DM screen. D&D Beyond has a random encounter table for every possible type of terrain based off levels 1 to 4, 4 to 8. So you literally just, what are they? Level 5? Cool. Click. Roll the table. I guess you're getting fucked up. Like, so, like the you remember the encounter with the corpse flower and you found the grove and all that other stuff? Yeah, that was a random encounter table. Like it was just, but it was just a grove. I put the people in there, but like, yeah, it makes it a lot easier to come up with stuff, especially when you're just like, okay, my players are obviously wanting a little bit more. Like they're wanting a combat. Now I'm learning to read, so see, like the random encounter tables definitely help.
I believe you can find that same random encounter table in the DM's guide.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is, but there's several different variations on D&D Beyond. You've got like that one, but then you've got it'll piece it out like where you want to go. Like you could get ones for Eberron specific. So I mean, like it's a lot of just a click away fluidity for it. So it's pretty easy.
I would also say like a minor goal that I would have for the stream would be like at some point, like all of us live together, like tabletop with a fucking like playmat, like it has
I'm
to
here
happen.
for that one.
Yeah.
But that means we all have to go to Tennessee because it's our turn to go to Tennessee.
Yeah.
Away to the car.
True.
All right, everyone, pile in the car. Next time on Nerds of Legend, we'll see you at David's house.
Yeah.
Yeah, see you in Tennessee.
But I'm just saying, like that.
I
like,
have
I
a
want
table that can fit 12 players. Let's go.
That's my big thing. I feel like it'd be rad to like have us all together and like with a play mat, like go into town.
We've never all physically been in the same location, so we have not been able to do that. So that does make sense. But not to cut it short, unfortunately, life is taking over, and so we will see you guys next week. At least I have to sign off. The rest of you can keep talking. I have, unfortunately, to go to work.
This is a good place to end it.
Yeah.
I want to thank everyone for joining us. If you wrote in today, don't worry. I'm still looking over the emails and whatnot, so we can always get to your questions and comments later. But if you haven't already, you can email us anytime you want at NOLTalkNerdy, all one word, at gmail.com, and we'd love to hear from you about future suggestions that we can do for Talk Nerdy to Us, or just in general. We'd love to hear your stories. We'd love to hear your comments. I want to thank my friends for joining me for our third episode of Talk Nerdy to Us, and we'll see you all later.
We'll see you soon. Next week we'll be in Eberron.
Yeah, well, you're going to learn a little bit about what the hell is going on in the multiverse.
All right. Good night, everybody.